Hey there, Limit here. Welcome back to another one of these tech deep dive sort of things. I'll save the stuff about plugins and components for when they're officially released, but I want to take some time to talk about the other options that I tried and ultimately gave up on. There are two strategies I tried, Onyx and containerization. Both of these had the same purpose in mind, compatibility and standardization. Here's the thing about the current Project JE Eisen. It's currently not compatible with Windows out of the box if you follow all the instructions in the README. There are some different installation steps for Windows, and if you're anything like me, you'll mess up your environment setup a bunch too. Not only that, but there can easily be conflicting dependencies between the main project and some of the other models you may want to integrate into the project. And unfortunately, with how it's currently set up, you're forced into loading these conflicting components even if you've never intended on using them. Like Unsloth, for example. I never used it since implementing it, but it loads up every time I boot the project. Thankfully, back when I made these models, I did intend for people to add their own implementations. So it's easy to create your own if you know where to look. But that's the thing, you need to know where to look. And sharing implementations with each other is unorganized, which basically leaves everyone with their own makeshift implementations. So that's two things I want to address. Getting Project JE Eisen runnable on either Linux or Windows OS with minimal clutter and making a standard that allows us to separate models from the main project. Let's first talk about Onyx. It stands for Open Neural Network Exchange, and this is basically the JSON for AI models. There's support in a lot of languages to encode and decode the AI models into this Onyx format, allowing you to effectively translate models between different languages. There's also Onyx Runtime, which you can use to run an Onyx model in either Windows or Linux from any language that supports it. As long as the models take the same kind of inputs to produce the same kind of outputs, we can swap these models in and out as we please. And that sounds too good to be true. And I'm surprised it took me this long to even hear about this, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The reason why I stopped trying to use Onyx is because of compilation issues. You see, we need to compile models in our desired language into the Onyx format. For most neural networks, this is fine. But once you start making use of some libraries like Triton, things just start to fall apart. So while I was trying to compare the performance of the original models compared to their Onyx counterparts, I had to slowly rewrite the entire model to not use Triton, which is not what most people want to be doing. I feel like this is only an issue with a few implementations like those that make use of Unsloth, and I'm sure Noel is going to have a word with me about Unsloth for inference. But the point still stands that this compilation step reduces how many integrations become feasible with the project. So Onyx, not the right solution for now. Next, let's talk about containerization, and more specifically Docker. Containerization refers to putting programs into their own containers, and containers are basically pre-packaged, isolated environments that are designed to run a program in what seems like its own machine. That's a bit of a stretch for a definition because there are obvious differences between a container and an actual operating system or virtual machine. But the point is you can have a container running a program in Linux while the container is actually running Windows. Each model can run in their own container and have their own server, and to use them it's as simple as making a request to that server as though it was actually running in a separate machine. This also means we could shut down a container and load up another one in its place without having to shut down any of the other containers. So again, we have great compatibility. There's a lot of resources on container tools like Docker, and I can define my own standard. In a world where I'm developing this project for myself, this solution would be perfect. But Project JE Eisen is an AI VTuber that eventually anyone can run, and Docker is just not something anyone can run. Well, I mean, sure, anyone can learn to set it up, but that's quite a bit of work that quite frankly I messed up quite badly when testing things out for Windows. I don't know how I didn't realize that Docker on Windows creates its own WSL distribution, which is what you're actually supposed to set up if you want GPU support in your containers. So if you ever do work with Docker, don't be me and completely fill up your drive with container images, brick your PC, and then accidentally delete your WSL. Needless to say, I didn't want to see Docker after that. But seriously, I don't think the additional step of setting up Docker is something I want for this project. I can always add it down in the line when it makes sense, but I could come up with a different solution. And finally, we have my custom-made plugins. It's debatable whether this is better or worse than using containers and Docker, but effectively each plugin is its own project that you can upload or download from GitHub, follow the README like any other project to install all its dependencies and set up its environment, and then Project JE Eisen will run these in their own processes that load up the project-specific environment and run that project in a gRPC server. Basically, it's Docker without the extra steps of containers. And sharing these is as easy as sharing a GitHub repository. And I've made a template project you can download and implement for any of the supported models at the moment. But it'll take some time before I fully work out all the kinks and settle on something that can easily be extended to other plugin types in the future. And until then, I'll hold off on giving any more details about this entire system. But I will be working on this feature on stream this week, so if you're curious, come check it out there. Anyways, hopefully I've opened your eyes to some new tech to play around with. Remember, if you have any questions about the project or want to show me something, the Discord server is linked down below. Anyways, I'm gonna get up and out of your way. Thanks for watching.